Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here this Saturday evening, July 16th. I must apologize for not being here last Saturday on the July 9th because of circumstances beyond our control, including JTV. Last Saturday, no, the Saturday before, which would have been the second, I spoke the people of BVI last Saturday's show, Saturday the second, I spoke of the perception of politicians in the eyes of the English language. In particular, I drew the definition for politics and politicians from the Oxford and Webster dictionaries. As I said, I was shocked to understand from those dictionaries that you, the people's concept of politics and politicians, were so well supported by the Oxford and Webster dictionaries. Bear in mind all of that, I am still of the firm opinion that people are fair, honest, some people are fair, honest, and upright politicians who uphold the dignity of their offices. And to this end, I wish to continue that we, the people, continue to demand our constitutional rights with regards to 1, belongers status, 2, the right to vote as belongers or citizens, 3, the protection of our economics and social rights, 4, the ocean conversion and by water BVI business is still a deplorable eyesore, and what is worst, we are made to understand that it has gone now beyond return. 5, access to our beaches. I personally never dreamt that the day would come when I would experience discrimination against my rights to go on any beach. 6, equality before the law is now also a questionable matter. 7, certain other human rights are also questionable as they are discriminated against. My fellow BVI landers, these are trying times. We cannot fail to challenge the evil of the day. Item number 8, legal tender as against credit cards. The Oxford Dictionary says about legal tender, and this is why I always go to the dictionary so that you would know I'm not lying to you. I'm not being the type of politician that is described in Oxford and in Webster. Oxford says that legal tender is coins or banknotes that must be accepted. Listen to what it says. Coins or banknotes that must be accepted if offered in payment of a debt. That's what Oxford said. What has Webster to say? Webster says that legal tender is money that must by law be accepted in payment of debt. Are we living, ladies and gentlemen, in a crazy world? Can any airline or its agents refuse the legal tender of the British Virgin Islands? Can a hotel or its agent refuse the legal tender of the British Virgin Islands? Can a car rental business refuse the legal tender of the British Virgin Islands? Has the law been changed to make substitute legal tenders? The answer to that is no. Are the peoples of the world being provoked to wrath, or in other words, extreme anger? What then is the purpose of law? Who or what gives an airline, or any business for that matter, the right to refuse the legal tender of the BVI if they want a quick and easy way to transfer money? Then they must own their own credit card to do so. They cannot impose the responsibility on the customers, that is to say, the passengers. Has the world gone crazy? Is law anymore? Do we have any legal rights? I traveled to Puerto Rico a couple of days ago, about 2 weeks. And when I got there was a bill of $14 to be paid. And I was told by the agents of American Airlines, American Eagle, that I must have a credit card to travel. They won't receive the US dollar. They would not receive the legal tender. Are we going crazy? Is the law of any importance? Ladies and gentlemen, we better be careful with what is happening to us. Now, just this week, Friday, I went to do my banking, and one of my customers called me. I was right in front of the teller. I was answering my phone. The teller heard every single word that I said, yet I was told that I cannot use my telephone in a bank. Why? Because some banks have been robbed. And it's believed that the people who are using the telephone in the bank were associated with the robbers. What have I to do with that? If somebody walks into somebody else's store and steal money, does that mean I cannot walk into that store again because I'm going to be regarded as a thief? When will lunacy stop in this little place of ours? As far as I'm concerned, this measure of not being able to use your telephone is wicked, it's crazy, it's stupid. Anybody could stand up outside a bank. As a matter of fact, you don't have to stand up outside a bank. You could go on a hillside and use modern day instrument and look inside the bank and see what's happening. It is time to stop all this crazy maneuvering of human bodies and souls. Ladies and gentlemen, let us be honest. Let us be fair. All of us have our rights, and too many of them are being abused. Our constitutional rights are being abused, and that includes the right to vote. And when I say that, there are citizens who cannot vote. There are BVI landers by right, belongers by right who cannot get passports. And a bunch of crazy other things are going on. Now, what is stealing? I'm sorry to talk about stealing tonight, but I am saddened to see what stealing means among this society. As far as I'm concerned, stealing is taking somebody else's property, whether it be money or other goods or other objects. And we know from whether it's common law now or statutory law that anybody who receives stolen money is as guilty as the person who stole the money. That is to say, if I misuse a credit card and I gave that money or the benefit of that money to anybody, the recipient of that benefit is just as guilty as I am. Particularly, they know how I got the money. If someone else could take up my credit card and go and use it, it is stealing. Whether they have my permission or not, particularly when they know the money that is involved does not belong to me. Is it fair then to convict one person and send them to jail and still have to turn around and pay what has been stolen? Ladies and gentlemen, we all must have equality before the law. And as I've said just a few moments ago, as long as I am taking away something that I know is not mine, is stealing. And anybody who does that is equally, in the sense of the word, stealing, even to the extent where you or anybody would accept money that you know I handled in that fashion. So knowing that then, is it fair to convict one person, to fine and confine that person, and let all the other offenders go free? I believe you know the answer. And I'm not going to say anything more on that. Because simply put, justice has not been done. Why? Because it's easy to tell from a credit card whoever signs it, whoever uses it. Because as far as I understand, I don't own one. But as long as you use a credit card, you got to sign something to recognize the debt. So all who would use a credit card surely can be identified. So how come when 8, 9, 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 or 1,000 people use a credit card, only one is being charged, fined, and confined? Ladies and gentlemen, I've thrown those things out to you because I want tonight to be an open show. I want tonight to be a show where you would call us and tell us your points or views, not necessarily on what I've just said, but your points and your views on anything you have in your mind. You can call and ask us questions. If we can answer them, we will answer them. If we cannot answer them, then we will tell you we can't answer them. This is an election year. And it's about time you tell us something about what you see in terms of election. Have you received justice, value for money for the last 4 years? Are you satisfied with what you have received to the extent where you're ready, willing, and able to reappoint your last servants? Are you dissatisfied to the point where you are prepared to change your servants and appoint new ones? Ladies and gentlemen, as I was speaking the other day and someone said to me, the BVI is not at a crossroad, but the BVI has gone beyond the crossroad, and we need to make 180 degrees roundabout turn and get back to the crossroad and then choose the direction in which we must go. That was what the opinion of a friend of mine was. I believe there may be value in it. I don't know what you think. But tonight we want you to call in and help us to help the other peoples of this British Virgin Islands understand who we are, where we are going, and what can our children and great-great-grandchildren down the road can expect. Mr. Courtney has just arrived. I'm going to ask him to say good evening to you, and I'm going to open up the show after that so that you can call and make your expressions. Remember that this is the country in which you live, and you have a right to tell those aspiring politicians where you would like to go. It's not just that they're going to tell you where they're going to take you. This is your country, and you will give them the directions in which to go. Mr. Courtney, Mr. DeCastro, would you say good evening to you?
All right, good evening to our viewing audience. I've been away for a short time, and we apologize for some technical difficulties we had as well. But nonetheless, we're here, and Edmund, as you rightfully said, we're going to have an open show, and we're going to engage the community tonight.
Yes.
We're asking some serious questions about the direction of the country, and we're going to also touch on some of the issues that are out there with our community.
Right.
You know, things that have happened over the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
That are very much important to us here in this community. So we're going to work on those issues, engage the community. Of course, this is a people's show, and we wouldn't be here sitting without them.
Right.
And we want to engage persons at this point, and we'll discuss the topics that you have already mentioned. I heard you talking about our legal system and how it works, and to question whether or not we get timely justice, whether or not we get good justice, whether or not we get fair justice, whether or not we're being justly judged by our peers. And that is one of the, precedents of the legal system, that our peers should decide whether we are guilty or not. And whether or not that whole process or that whole system is working in a timely manner and in a fair way. And when I say fair, Edward, I'm choosing my words carefully, because fair to you may not be fair to me, but when you have a majority saying it's fair, then I think it's really fair.
Well, so, perhaps not, Courtney.
Perhaps not, yes, yeah. I know, but still we should be working within some parameters.
Of course.
And some parameters that most people understand.
Right.
And most people agree to, because let's face facts, we're talking about this community, not Edinburgh.
And the thing about it, Courtney,
yes,
what our Constitution says, in no uncertain terms, everyone is equal before the law.
Yes.
So if there are 10, 15 people who have committed the same crime, you cannot charge just one. Particularly when you know for sure that more than one person commit the crime. And that is what, we're not here calling any names tonight. That's not our purpose. We're not here talking about any particular case.
Right.
That's not our purpose. We are here talking about our constitutional rights. Everyone is equal before the law.
Yes.
And if 10 of us commit the same crime, all 10 should be charged equally.
Well, Edmund, you're begging another question, and that is whether or not we are following the Constitution in the first place. Because I know personally of at least 5 or 6 areas in the Constitution where we have totally ignored,
of course,
what's written in the Constitution. And it begs the question, who is really responsible for enforcing the law of the Constitution? We know where it lays. Okay? Right. I hope our viewers out there know where it lays as well. And if we're going to take that document and abuse it the way we are abusing it,
right,
then what will we do to the people?
Right.
The Constitution is the highest law of the land for the people.
For the people. No law, no actions can be contrary to it.
No, that's correct. And all the laws that are contrary to it should be revised.
Must be revised.
Must be revised.
Must be changed.
Well, I would even go further and say should have been changed since 2007.
Exactly.
Because this is now 2011.
That's what we have a legal office for. That's what we have Attorney General's office for.
That's what we have the legislature
for as well. To bring
our
laws up, and that's what we have the legislature for as well.
Yeah.
To pass and to make and pass the laws, to make our laws
current.
How shall we put it? In accordance with the Constitution.
Well, in accordance with the Constitution.
And it's not happening.
It's not happening, and we're wondering what happened to the constitutional...
Courtney, as I said earlier before you come, you have citizens who cannot vote.
Yes.
You have citizens who are not regarded as belongers.
Yes.
You have citizens who are being compelled to get immigration time, or belongers who are compelled to apply for and get immigration time
or exemption.
or exemption from work permits.
From work permit,
What
yes.
is happening to this place?
Yeah. And all of those actions are contrary.
All of
the
those
Constitution.
actions are contrary to the Constitution. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open up the show. We are going to give you a chance tonight to express yourselves, because if you don't, you'll be sorry. The good book says, "Woe unto us who have ears and will not hear. Woe unto us who have eyes and will not see." And I'm saying tonight, woe unto us who have intelligence and will not understand. The day will come when you will want to know whether you're living in heaven or in hell. And I think you will find yourself, because of your own action, living in the bottomless pit, simply because you were so crooked and dishonest to yourselves, you would not stand up for the truth. As I said, I was told earlier, a couple of years ago, if I run for election, I will never get elected because I speak the truth. But I want to tell all of you who are listening to me tonight, if that's the case, then I will never get elected, because from my mother's breast, I knew that the lie is nothing good for us, and I will not tell a lie. Just like that. So the show is now open, as I said.
Well, Edmund, I'm going to let you off so easy with that, you know, because I am convinced that we have the majority of the persons who we have in the political system right now, you know, are misrepresenting the public.
You mean misrepresenting the truth?
Misrepresenting the truth. So
So
what you're saying probably
you
goes...
agree with my friend who
No,
told me
what you're saying probably goes for me as well. We have a call on the line.
Yes,
Let's
let's
take it
take
on.
the
Yeah.
call.
Good evening, you're free speaking mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. Madhu, good night.
Good night, caller.
We're doing fine.
Right.
And yourself?
Oh, okay, I have a question for Mr. Madhu.
Yes,
now,
sir.
if you work all the days of your life, you put your money inside one of those banks, and then you might come to collect some money, or you might come to put some money in the bank, and then you have your cell phone, and your phone rings. Sometimes it's emergency, and sometimes it could be your house as you just leave home flooded. And then the banker, somebody in the bank tells you cannot use your cell phone. How do you mean you cannot use your cell phone? And the other question, when you want to make an appointment with the bank, these folks in the bank use the same phone what they have there to make an appointment with someone outside to come in the bank. I've been hung up on this, I don't understand that.
Well, caller, that's why I mentioned it earlier this evening, that it's abusive of any bank to tell you you can't use your telephone. I don't see, you know, any wrong in using your telephone. I don't have to go inside the bank to make a plan to rob the bank. I know when the bank is open. There are people who could rob the bank even when it's closed, blow the locks off, whatever. I'm not here inciting crime. I'm here speaking about my justice, my right to use my telephone. And we have nobody standing up for us.
And I'll tell you something worse than that. With cyber crime, you don't even have to go in close to the bank.
I could stay in Timbuktu and look in through the door of any of the banks we have here.
That's right.
I can stay in Timbuktu. I could step from here and read a newspaper out of the hand of a man in the street in New York.
There's a little colleague of mine who said that he went into the bank and the bank changed his name twice, and he ain't changed his name once yet. He wanted to know why you have to give them two ID. And he ain't changed his name, but they changed their name twice and nobody asked him anything.
Once I went to the bank and they asked me for identification. I said, I've been banking with you for the last 20 years and you don't know me?
Know your customer. We have a call on it.
It's most important that you know your customer.
Good evening, you're free speaking mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, caller.
I would like to find out our concern about the labor code. If a man works on the holiday, he entitled to get pay or not?
Holiday pay?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know how it is in the new labor code, but under the old labor code, you're supposed to get double pay.
You would have had to work 40 hours.
And you would have had to work the day before.
The day before.
And the day after.
And the day after. You would have to be carrying straight time. I think the person hang up.
Yes, well,
right.
I think that is the situation. That is what the law says.
Yeah.
So yes, here we have with all of these problems. And people are suffering. You know, we have been talking about them time after time after time, and nobody looks after them. I know someone who's been living together, two persons who's been living together for 28 years.
Yes.
Married for the last 8 years, and they're still applying for time from immigration and exemption from work permit from the Labor Department.
We got another call.
Yeah, let's let them come through.
Good evening, you're speaking mind. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
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 Yeah, Maduro Courtney, good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on two things real quick, and I see what I have to say, and then I'll hang up and listen.
Okay,
The
caller.
first thing, right, is about the young lady that was convicted. I respect your passion to try to defend her, right?
I wasn't defending
But I think-
anybody. Hold a while. I want you to stop right there. I was speaking about the law in general. Don't say I spoke about anybody. Otherwise, I'll have to cut you off.
Okay, you're not cut me off.
So
When
you
you-
speak
in your-
right, because
in your
you see,
opening
you all
statement-
fail to understand that when you do the wrong thing, it's me they're going to sue, not you.
Okay.
That's why
Well, in
I
your-
called no name. I was speaking in general. All right.
Okay, well,
So
well,
I
can
must
speak in general.
I must tell you now. You don't know who I was talking about. All right.
I can speak in general. I
Okay.
can speak in general.
Speak
the young
in
lady
general.
that was convicted. 'cause
I
this is
said you
public- this is
you
public record.
identifying somebody by those very words.
This is public record. The case that just ended in High Court, where the young lady that was convicted for whatever, the two charges that relate to the tourist board. That's public record. So we can't nobody.
Caller,
cancel
if you don't
on that.
if you don't listen to me, I'll cut you off right now. Because you don't know if you're going to get in trouble with the courts, not the young lady. You must understand. There are serious actions that could be taken against you
let's
and me.
speak in general.
Speak in general,
Let's speak
I'll
in
cut you
general.
off.
When people do the wrong thing, they have a right to be convicted.
Of course
And
you're right.
Recently, we had some cases in the BVI
Yes.
that involved cases of theft and mistrust.
Yes.
And they were convicted.
Yes.
Those people, whoever they are, had a fair chance to implicate other people that they said, and their own lawyer said, that also was using the credit card and all these other things. They didn't do it. They didn't present any evidence whatsoever to implicate others. So whatever punishment they got, they deserve.
No, let me
That's
hold on.
number one.
Hold on. Let me clear that up with you. Anybody who uses a credit card can be identified.
That's right.
By their signature.
And caller, you're making one.
And
You're making a simple mistake.
You're
too.
making a sad mistake.
That
there.
person cannot.
Well,
the
credit-
Listen to Mr. Gitcastro.
the person cannot prosecute anybody. The government prosecutes people.
Right.
I didn't say about prosecute. I said they could implicate
You could
if they had to.
Man, you could
They could,
implicate all
in
you
their
want.
own defense.
You could
in their
implicate-
own defense.
You could implicate
can't-
all you want, but the only way a case could go forward is if the prosecutor general puts it forward.
That's right.
Absolutely, and that person.
And
was
let me add to what Mr.
prosecuted based on the
DeCastro said.
evidence.
They could still do it now.
Let me add to what Mr. DeCastro said. Using a credit card, as long as you use that credit card, you have to sign a piece of paper for every transaction you make.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
the person who is taking that credit card from you have a right to know who you are.
And caller.
And hold a while, the prosecution could go back through the credit card system and
Records.
identify everybody
That's
who
right.
used that credit card.
And
So
for-
why you
Let
only
me
charge
tell-
one?
And for what purpose?
And for what
Well,
purpose?
you charge the one who is ultimately responsible.
Stealing is stealing.
There was somebody from representing one of the credit card companies, American Express. They said point blank, if there was a discrepancy in any of the bill, the person whose the name the card was issuing, it's their responsibility to notify their legal department that there's a fraud being
That
committed
does
on that
not
credit card.
stop
Hold on.
stealing, okay?
And the person said, at no time did the person whose name the credit card was in ever identify any fraud being used on the card.
Caller,
The person said that. They
caller, you must
to that.
listen. The show yours alone. You must listen. And we run this show, and when we ask you to wait, you must wait. And this
Yeah,
is the
let me
problem.
finish.
Right now, I'm being sued just because I won't put you all in order. I'm
wait,
saying to
you
you,
super.
wait right here. Any credit card user can be identified by the prosecution. That's the point. So how only one you're going to use? How only one you're going to charge?
Because that's the only one whose name was on the card.
You're a damn liar.
That's not true.
If you
That's the
don't,
one whose name was on the card.
look, we don't have time to waste with such ignorance. we are making a valid point. Obviously, he has something against somebody. And I don't have any more time for that.
Buddy,
The credit card, people who run the credit card can identify everybody. And just like how they had one credit card, or two credit card, or three credit card, callers coming to any case, whatever it is, the prosecution could bring them and identify all the signatures.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We must stop being stupid. And when people are raising a solid point, understand what we are saying. We're not talking about anybody in particular.
Not only that, Edmund, those records are still there.
When I was going to Puerto Rico last week, I had no credit card. I had to use LT credit card. I was abused with regards to my legal tender. All sorts of illegal things are happening in this place. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we have a caller. Let's go ahead. If you're prepared to talk, let's talk.
Good evening. You speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Hello. Hello.
Good evening. You speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Hello.
The caller disconnected. Please call back.
Yeah, something happened that it didn't get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see, Courtney, this is what we're saying. On a credit card, every time you use it,
The transaction. The day.
it
the
is
date.
not only the owner of the credit card. Can you use my credit card lawfully?
No.
Can I use your credit card lawfully?
No.
So when the people who are managing the credit card find out that different people are using the credit card, don't they have a right to report to the authorities?
Of course. Of course they do. Anyways.
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm not taking no nonsense here tonight. I ain't going to get up in the morning when you look the judge suing me or put me balsam gut for contempt of court and all the rest of it. We're going to speak very much in general,
Yeah.
and we're going to deal with those matters.
But Edmund, they're asking us to take a break.
Yeah, we're
now
going to take a break and
for
come
these-
back.
For these sponsors that make the show possible.
That's
So,
right.